You know, it's rare that we start out with an apology or apologize ever on this show, as we are not sorry. But Sam Darnold, I am sorry for the way I've treated you and the things I have said about you. You didn't deserve the hate. You proved me wrong. And most importantly, your legacy will now live on as one of the greatest individual comeback stories ever. The world wrote you off after your stint with the Jets. Look at you now. You're headed to Disney World. Who should be more sorry than me, Kyle? Let me tell you, the good old Minnesota Vikings. They should be doing a public service announcement and apologizing to Darnold for leaving him for dead. They had a great defense. All they needed was a quarterback. He was the only thing missing, and they let him go to win a Super Bowl. Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Channel, folks. Kyle, how the hell are you doing over there?
I am doing well. The Super Bowl has come and gone, and
Sure has.
we will start getting into, honestly, the more juicier stuff is the off-season prep for fantasy football. So that's preferred anyway when the Packers are not in the Super Bowl.
You're darn right. At times upon us to put in all that hard work. How's dad life treating you over there?
We are wiping butts and going to the doctor and getting all the things right.
You're driving up everyone's healthcare costs for everybody.
We are doing our darndest to drive up everybody's healthcare costs out there, just so you know.
Oh, it's all right. Someone's got to do it.
Mhm.
Why don't you take us away? We're going over the Super Bowl today, folks. Why don't you break us down some of those commercials? I didn't enjoy many of them. What did you got?
Yeah, I'll go over some of the top ones here. This was obviously one of the most watched U.S. broadcasting shows in history. Up to 10 million for a 30-second spot. Isn't that crazy?
That's insane.
A lot of celebrity appearances. Some of the bigger name companies and standouts here we'll talk about: Budweiser, Lay's, Dunkin', Pepsi, Instacart, State Farm. So the Budweiser had two different ones. They kind of had like a tearjerker with the Clydesdale and the bald eagle, going old school like America on us.
Big fan of the tear jerkers these days, are you?
Apparently, America was. That one and the Lay's one were some of the top two hits, and they were both like tearjerkers.
World's getting soft on us.
Apparently, they had a humor one. Peyton Manning jumped to the scene drinking himself a Bud Light at a wedding. Looks like some kind of reception, probably. And the Budweiser keg was rolling down like a hill cliff, and everybody jumped off the cliff hill to go get it and save it, type thing. So that was probably one of the funnier ones, I thought.
I
And
do love me some Peyton Manning. I've always loved me some Peyton Manning.
after, at the end, when they got the keg, they're drinking the beer. Some guys like, give it a week. Starring Peyton Manning, Post Malone, and then a bunch of other people.
There we go.
The Lay's tearjerker one was about a father-daughter potato farm. And
Oh,
it was kind of about like the flashback of him raising his daughter on the farm and going through everything. And then the role reversal of her helping him as he aged. And then like, the changing of the guard situation there. Next up, we had the Dunkin' Donuts 90s sitcom starring Ben Affleck, Jennifer Aniston, Matt LeBlanc, Jason Alexander, and even Timmy Brady made an appearance in that one.
how about that?
Basically, it was a reimagined scene, like Good Will Hunting style sitcom, featuring all those guys at a Dunkin'. And there was a lot about Fibonacci in that one. Interesting. Pepsi. I gave a teaser as Pepsi was going to do something with that poor Coca-Cola bear, and they did. The polar bear is under attack, not only from global warming, but Pepsi. Sorry, Coca-Cola. I don't know what happened there, the rights on those poor polar bears. Anyways, it looks like the polar bear is going with Pepsi now.
Looks like it.
So, Instacart, they had a funny retro musical concert with Ben Stiller and Benson Boone, like a disco style concert. That one was
Okay.
pretty funny. And then State Farm had an appearance with John Bon Jovi at the end. And basically, it was like her existing insurance company. They were doing like a bad concert vibe and a bad job, and it was a comical thing. And then Bon Jovi and Jake from State Farm swoop in at the end with the convertible, and she hops in. So
How
those are
about that?
probably the most noticeable. And if you're ever going to go back and YouTube any of them, those would be the ones I would recommend.
I like it. I like it a lot. Um, what was your number one? The Lays.
I mean, the tearjerker number one, probably the Lay's.
Yeah.
I like the Bud Light one. where everybody jumped off a cliff. That
Okay.
probably made me laugh the most in the moment.
Yeah.
And in the moment was rough in my household that evening. The few other things that I'm not going to talk about. Otherwise, and the polar bear one I thought was pretty funny. So those are
Gotcha.
probably the tops for me. I didn't
Yeah.
mind the 90s or the retro musical and then the State Farm one as well.
Okay. All right.
Did you have a
Well,
favorite now that I've recapped them all for you? Did I
yeah.
refresh that? Did I blow off that dusty memory of yours?
You blew up the memory out, and I'm gonna go with as I said before, the commercials sucked, and I didn't enjoy much of any of them. And I'm gonna interject a little bit of negativity into the Super Bowl and call a spade a spade. This is the worst Super Bowl I've ever seen in over a decade. The worst commercials. I don't know how these companies pay millions of dollars to run those terrible ads. The game was boring as heck and it's just a blowout one-sided thing. And I'm going to say it, the halftime show wasn't all that bad. The guy put on a nice performance. Obviously, the only complaint was you can't understand him if you don't speak Spanish, so you had no idea what he said. But that's not his fault. That's the NFL's fault for bringing him on. They knew what his songs were. They knew what language he spoke. They know who their fans are. So that's on the NFL. Watching some guy run around the stadium, pelvic thrust in the air, singing songs in Spanish, that's hilarious, and that's something I can get behind. I mean, he did. It's essentially what he did. And then the only other thing I liked that he also did was he was uniting. Most of the world's so divisive
that's
these
what I was
days.
going to ask you. It was
He
a
tried
very uniting theme
yeah,
of
all of the
countries and
Americas.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks America is just, North America. Well, there's a lot of other countries in there, and he brought them all together and was uniting, which, again, was respectable. But again, if you don't want him on there, then blame the NFL. Don't blame the guy for that's the language he speaks and that's the song he sings. It's not his damn fault.
It was one of the most watched halftime performances in all of Super Bowl history.
Yeah.
Exploded on social media.
I mean, let's face facts. NFL did this for a reason. They did it because they are trying to expand the NFL globally and internationally. It's what they've been doing on. They're sending games overseas. They're sending games to different countries. They did this for a reason. They're trying to expand the NFL internationally to bring in more billions of dollars. That's why they did it, and that's why they're doing it. And, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, you had some surprise appearances from like Lady Gaga, and I'm a big Lady Gaga fan, so that was
You're a big Lady Gaga. Cool. I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, have you seen the movie A Star Is Born? Like, she's great. She's so talented.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. Love that.
If she was on if I could draft her on my fantasy football team, I would. Do you think she could kick? I bet she could kick a field goal. Put her in my kicker slot.
I'll give her a PAT. I'll give her a PAT.
All right. Since you brought it up, you want to say anything about the Super Bowl halftime show?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I liked the halftime show. I thought it was good. Again, if you understand Spanish, it would have been a lot more enjoyable. I think he said some pretty dirty things that he was able to slide in there, which is kind of fun because most of the people didn't understand what he was saying. So I kind of like that. You ready? Can we talk about the game a little bit though? Can we get into the real game, the real reason we're here today?
Yeah, go ahead. You can start talking about the game.
All right, because the reason I was so disappointed in the game is because the New England Patriots didn't freaking adjust at all. Seattle put pressure all over Drake May, and he held onto the ball and stayed into the pocket the entire game. He needed to have a 3-second ticker in his mind. 1, 2, 3, throw it away, or run the effing football, and he did neither of those things. He stayed in there, and he kept getting whacked. On top of that, they didn't use a tight end or running back to at least hedge and hit the defensive end rushers, which came in all game long, and they started doing that in the second half. They needed to do that right away because they needed help, and they absolutely just got murdered on the edges. Tight end should have stayed in to chip more. Running back should have stayed in to max protect more. They didn't make these adjustments, so it was too late, and they got just their asses kicked. And that's what it was. And it was painful to see that on a Super Bowl setting.
Yeah, I mean, going into the game, it was exactly what I feared for New England, is their offensive line wasn't going to be enough. And especially their left tackle, that first hack, he got rocked by Seattle's DNs. He multiple times he was just getting bull rushed and got rocked. And it was a bad performance from him. They needed to give him some help. They needed to chip the tight ends, the running backs. They just didn't do it. And I don't know why they didn't do it. It was dumb. And it allowed Seattle's defense just to dominate. And their offense in the first hand, New England's offense, oh my God, that was pathetic. I think it was one of the worst in Super Bowl history.
It was pathetic. It's a great word for it. And the fact that you and me, two amateurs that knew this was going to be the issue, the fact that the Patriots' $1 million coaching staff couldn't figure this out and help protect him and max protect him and keep the tight ends in. Like, are you kidding me, dude?
Billion? They're probably like billion.
Hundreds of million. What do you want from me? So many zeros, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I mean, it's just painful. It's like, come on, what the heck? And then he didn't run it enough. He needed to get rid of the ball. They needed to have plays set up for him to get rid of the ball, and they were too slow developing, and it was just freaking pathetic. That's the best way to describe it.
Yep, that's how I look at it. And New England's defense actually held pretty good in that first half.
They did.
They were under a lot of pressure from their poor offense. And they were holding their own, especially in the red zone, which is exactly what I said ahead of the game. Eventually Kenny Walker just outshined and outperformed. And he did hit on the over 100 yards, 105 or whatever it was, total yards.
75.5 rushing, 105 for rushing and receiving. Yep.
And that was the best bet, I thought, was the over on his total yards. And he ended up being the MVP. And he was the best offensive player. Obviously, JSN did leave the game with an injury. I don't even know any of the severities of that or what ended up happening there.
He's got time to rest now.
So he'll be fine for next year. And Kenny Walker stole the show. And Sam Darnold, he didn't have to really do much, and that helped, right? Like he made some good throws, specifically to A.J. Barner, and he ran the offense, right? And it was just enough for everything else around him just to do what it was designed to do and how it's been working most of the season here. So kudos to Seattle. I really got to give credit to their coaching staff, right? Yeah. And that defense and special teams, like very well done across the board all around. They were the best team in the NFL this year, and they proved it on Super Bowl, biggest game.
Yeah, 100%. I want to re-go over something you said, and that was the Patriots defense. They played a phenomenal game in terms of, and they're not going to get talked about like that very much because, they still got walloped.
Yeah, but considering how bad their offense put them under pressure much of the game.
They constantly had short field position, held in the field goals, played tough, did what they could, and the offense just couldn't do a dang thing to help them out. But yeah, I mean, going back to it, Sam Darnold, it wasn't a legendary performance by any means. 19 for 38, that's 50% completion, so nothing too crazy there, 202 yards. Only sacked once, as opposed to Drake May, sacked 6 times. And that's your difference maker in the game, like we've kind of talked about. And then obviously they just ran the ball with Ken Walker, and that took it over. He had a 30-yard rushing attempt, which, broke the over on that. 27 carries, 135 yards, 5-yard average. That's going to win you a ball game every time. If you can rush the ball for 5 yards, that's going to win you a ball game for sure.
It was a contract year for Kenny Walker. I think I saw some jokes about him getting paid.
Yeah, I think he went to the owner at the game of the Super Bowl, and he was already talking money.
To do it. He's like, "Well, I just won MVP of the Super Bowl for you, buddy. Pay me." That's how you do it, Kenny Walker. Nice job.
For real. Yeah, the owner's like, yep, he came up to me right after the game and already was talking negotiations.
I don't need my agent. We just won the Super Bowl.
Yep, that's $20 million a year right there. He should get paid.
He should
get paid.
All right. Anything else you want to recap about the big game?
No, pretty disappointing across the board. I'm happy for Sam Darnold. He's got a lot of haters and doubters that he just proved wrong, myself included, and I'm now a believer in that young man.
I mean, I believed
in him. He's got the best defense in the NFL with him, of course.
This was the only game I actually believed in him all season, so he did enough.
Better late than never.
It's true, but the team around him is just so good. Like, this is such a case of a true, like, it's not one player. It is the entire 50-man roster, right?
Yep.
And coaches and coaching staff.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, how do you think Pete Carroll and his boy feel?
Pete Carroll is probably feeling pretty, poopy about himself. But did he win a Super Bowl in Seattle? Did Pete Carroll win one?
Yeah, he did. He won one. He got one with Russell. Geno Smith's probably pretty upset right now too.
Yeah, I think Mike McDonald is one of the youngest coaches. I think he's up there with like Mike Tomlin and a couple other guys that have won a Super Bowl. But it's so funny that Mike Tomlin won that one when he was younger, and then he never won another one again.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you got to appreciate it while you're there. That's for sure. You may never see one again.
Yep. All right, folks. That's what we got for wrapping up the big game. Stay tuned this offseason as we bring you the good stuff and do the due diligence for you and get you ready for next year's draft and all of the joy that follows the fantasy football season. Thanks for tuning in to the Fantasy Football Channel. We'll catch you in the next one.